Senator Ned Nwoko, representing Delta North, has publicly declared that peace in the southeast will return once two things happen. 1. The creation of a new state, which he calls Anioma State, and 2. The release of Nnamdi Kanu. He links the unrest in the southeast region of Nigeria to perceived marginalization of that region by successive governments. Have you been wondering what's really going on surrounding the latest headlines? Well, sit tight and let's unpack this. The headline reads, Nnamdi Kanu should be released with immediate effect for peace in Nigeria, Ned Nwoko. Today we'll dive into what this means, why it matters right now, and how it affects our country, Nigeria. And yes, before we go deeper, don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss similar discussions. So, what's the story? Senator Ned Nwoko, representing Delta North, has publicly declared that peace in the southeast will return once two things happen. 1. The creation of a new state, which he calls Anioma State, and 2. The release of Nnamdi Kanu. He links the unrest in the southeast region of Nigeria to perceived marginalization of that region by successive governments. Let's break that down. Nnamdi Kanu is the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, a group that has been agitating for the independence of the southeast region. He's been arrested and is standing trial on terrorism-related charges. Meanwhile, Senator Nwoko says that the southeast unrest would calm if Kanu were released and the new state created. He says those two actions would address the root feelings of injustice. Now, why is this significant? Because it's touching on several big issues: regional grievances, the rule of law, national unity, and how we handle secessionist movements. If the government considers releasing someone facing terrorism charges, there are legal, security, and political implications. And when a senator calls for the creation of a new state that affects our federal structure, the distribution of resources, identity politics, etc., let's talk deeper. Nwoko argues that the southeast has been feeling left out or disadvantaged. He says, the creation of this new Anioma State, he says, to make 6 states in the southeast region, plus the release of Kanu, would almost certainly bring peace. Now, of course, others might ask, is release of Kanu the right solution? Does it guarantee peace? What message does it send about accountability and the justice system? Consider these questions with me. If Kanu is released now, would his followers stop agitation? Maybe yes for some, maybe no for others. The movements for regional autonomy, secession, don't always center on one person. Would the government standing on terrorism-related charges be weakened if release happens? That's a concern for the national security framework. Is creation of a new state the right way to approach regional grievances? Some may argue that changing or increasing states may not solve deeper issues like economic marginalization, local governance, infrastructure, political representation. Now, let's picture scenarios. Scenario A. The government agrees, releases Kanu, creates Anioma State. Many, especially in the southeast, may feel a win, a signal of inclusion, a pressure release. That could reduce tension, everyone breathes easier. But risks. Some might view it as setting precedent, that agitation leads to reward. National security could argue against it. Scenario B. Government resists, keeps Kanu detained, no new state. Then unrest may continue, calls grow louder, regional alienation increases, trust breaks down. What about the broader public and youth? Many young people in the southeast feel that their region has unequal access to national appointments, security presence, infrastructure. They see Kanu's detention as symbolizing that their voice is being suppressed. Nwoko taps into that sentiment by saying the detention is unjust. On the other side, the government and many Nigerians view Kanu and IPOB as a security threat labeled as a terrorist organization. The tension between justice, security, and reconciliation is real. And there's the trial. Kanu's defense has claimed he could not access his documents due to the dismissal of his legal team. and the trial was adjourned. If the trial remains stalled, it feeds into the narrative of unfair process, which undermines trust in our justice system. So, what do we take from all this? First, dialogue is critical. If voices like Nwoko's are pushing for release and structural change, the government must engage seriously, not dismissively. Second, the underlying grievances of the Southeast must be addressed beyond personalities. Whether Kanu is in jail or not, the root issues political inclusion, economic opportunity, infrastructure need work. Third, the rule of law must be respected. Releases or changes must be done with transparency so as not to weaken institutions. Fourth, the entire nation has a stake. Even if this is framed as Southeast issue, the implications run to how we manage federalism, security, rights, and regional identity in Nigeria. Now, when Ned Nwoko made that statement, Nnamdi Kanu should be released with immediate effect for peace in Nigeria, it wasn't just a random comment. It came at a time when tensions are high in the Southeast. Businesses are struggling due to fear of violence. Schools close on certain days, and ordinary people just want peace. Nwoko is basically saying, you can't achieve peace when one of the key figures at the center of the issue is still locked up. Let's remember that Nnamdi Kanu's arrest and detention have been a major trigger for unrest in that region. Since 2021, when he was brought back to Nigeria from Kenya, his supporters have consistently demanded his release. IPOB, which he leads, has repeatedly denied being behind some violent acts, yet the sit-at-home orders and clashes with security agencies have caused fear and division. Now, Ned Nwoko, being a senator and a public figure, is not just speaking emotionally. He's playing both political and peace advocacy roles. He's basically saying, government should take a bold step, release him, open dialogue, and then restructure the Southeast politically. And truth be told, that idea resonates with many Nigerians who are tired of conflict. But there's another side to this. Some Nigerians believe releasing Kanu now might send a wrong message that if anyone causes unrest, government will eventually bow. Others say it's not about bowing, but about showing wisdom using dialogue instead of force. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and make sure you hit that like button if you're following so far. When we look at this whole thing carefully, we see that Nigeria is at a point where peace requires compromise. Remember, back in 2017 and 2018, when similar agitations were rising, government tried both military and legal measures, but those didn't really stop the tension. Now, we are hearing lawmakers and community leaders calling for political solutions instead. And, if we're being honest, peace in the Southeast affects everyone. Investors don't want to put money in a place that's unstable, and traders can't move freely when there's insecurity. Ned Nwoko is basically saying, let's fix this problem from the root. He believes the creation of a new state, Anioma State, would balance the federation, giving the Southeast 6 states like other regions. He also argues that people in the Southeast will feel more included, reducing the sense of marginalization that fuels agitation. But, again, that's easier said than done. Creating a new state requires constitutional amendment, and that's a long process. Even if approved, it takes political will, census data, economic plans, and agreements between regions. Some people support it, others think it's a distraction from the real issue development. They say, what's the use of creating a new state if the old ones are still struggling with bad roads, unemployment, and poor infrastructure? These are valid points, and this is where leadership matters. If the government truly wants peace, it must combine justice, inclusion, and dialogue. And it's not just about Kanu. It's about healing trust between the people and the system. Because right now, many Nigerians, not just from the Southeast, feel unheard. Now, let's not forget that just last week, Kanu's court case was adjourned again. His lawyers complained that the delay is becoming too long and unfair. His family members and supporters say he's not getting proper medical care and legal access. The court, however, insists that due process must continue. So, Both sides are holding firm, one side calling for justice, the other saying peace first. And that's why Ned Nwoko's statement is shaking the table. Because he's a senator, a member of the ruling party, PDP previously, now aligned with national interests, and also someone respected by the youth because of his humanitarian work. When he says, "Release Kanu," people listen. It's not just a political soundbite. It's a signal that the conversation about peace might be shifting from punishment to reconciliation. But we also need to think ahead. What happens after the release? If it happens, would IPOB call off all forms of protest? Would Kanu come out and call for peace? Would the government set conditions? These are questions that matter. Peace is not just about freeing someone, it's about what comes next. You know, as Nigerians, we all want stability, whether you're from the north, south, east, or west. Because when there's peace, there's progress. People can go about their lives, do business, send their children to school, and live without fear. That's what everyone wants. So, if Ned Nwoko's proposal can help us achieve that, maybe it's worth considering. Dialogue doesn't make a government weak, it actually shows strength. Imagine if the federal government sets up a peace dialogue committee, including senators like Ned Nwoko, traditional leaders, and youth representatives, to find a lasting solution. That would go a long way to rebuild trust. Now, what do you think? Should Nigeria take that bold step for peace? Or should the law take its full course first before any reconciliation happens? Let's talk in the comments. I'd love to read your thoughts. And once again, if you're still watching, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications because we'll keep following this story closely and bring you updates as they happen.